Hi everyone, my name's Poppy and I'm a third year undergrad at the University of Liverpool studying law with a year abroad, and in October 2020 I'll be starting my final year. So I didn't actually choose the University of Liverpool. My first choice was the University of Manchester, but I didn't get the grades to get in and I was absolutely devastated on results day. My insurance choice was the University of Liverpool, so I didn't have to go through clearing to get it. I already had my place there on results day, but I really didn't want to go. Everybody told me, you'll love it there, you won't even be thinking about Manchester, everything will work itself out. And it has, but at the time I just really didn't believe it. But if anybody's in that situation, then you really have to trust what people say around you and that things do work themselves out, is a piece of advice that I have given a lot. I have wanted to be a human rights barrister ever since I was 8 years old. So when I was applying for university aged 18, I'd already wanted to be studying law for a decade. So I didn't really have to think about what courses I was going to look at. I just always knew it was going to be law. Something that was a later decision was the fact that I did a year abroad. I at first was totally not going to do a year abroad. I didn't see the point. And then when I was looking at different courses for law and saw the year abroad options or the study abroad options, then it really appealed to me. I ended up going to Hong Kong. I was meant to be there for a year, but COVID-19 meant that I was recalled halfway through. It's actually a good thing that I ended up at Liverpool because Manchester only do semesters abroad. So although I kind of only did a semester abroad because of COVID-19, in theory I would have done a year in Liverpool, and if I'd gone to Manchester it would have been much shorter than if I'd gone to Liverpool. So I really like the Liverpool law course. I think it has a fair workload for the fact that it is a law degree, and I think it's quite similar to the workloads of other humanity subjects. Law as a subject in general is quite a lot of independent work and independent research, so I find myself having quite few contact hours, not that many lectures or seminars, and spending a lot of time in the library doing my own work, but that suits me. That's what I expected from law, and I think if you are looking at law, then that's what you should expect from most places as well. I think the reason why it's like that is because although not everybody that does law goes on to have a career in the legal sector, lots of people do. For instance, that's exactly why I chose law. And if you do work in the legal sector, then it is a lot of independent work, so it's sort of prepping you for that and for the future if you do go down that path. The way that the Liverpool law course is set out is that your first 2 years you do 7 compulsory modules. If you do law in any university in the UK, in order to make it a qualifying law degree, you have to do 7 compulsory modules. So Liverpool just put all of these modules into the first 2 years. So like criminal law, contract law, tort law, public law, EU, etc. And then in your final year, you have complete freedom to choose whatever modules you want, including a dissertation if you want to, but you don't have to. I think that is quite a good setup because you need to learn a bit of law in order to decide which type of law you're going to specialise in. So it makes sense that you then have the freedom at the end to choose what you're going to study and what you're going to specialise in, because you already know a bit about how the legal system works. I love Liverpool. I love it so much. It's a small city, so you can pretty much walk to every place that you'd be interested in going. It's got an amazing nightlife. It's got something for everybody. There's so much option, sometimes too much option for where you want to have a night out or where you want to go. There's 5 universities in Liverpool. I think it's the most densely populated student area in the UK, considering it is such a small city with so many universities. That means that you have such a good student and community atmosphere in the city, and you're one of the majority. If anything, it's not like a students versus Scousers atmosphere at all, because there's so many of students around. My accommodation for first year was at this place called Carnatic. It was a student village and it looked like a 60s prison. You had to get a bus into uni every day, and when I turned up I was devastated at the state the accommodation was in. It was also catered and I really didn't want catered. I wanted self-catered in order to really live the independent life that I had been expecting when I moved to university. But just like my doubts about going to Liverpool, my doubts about Carnatic were completely unfulfilled because I absolutely loved Carnatic. Everybody that goes learns to love it, and you become so passionate about how great Carnatic is. It has closed down now, but I think the lesson to be learnt from that is that if you get catered or self-catered and you wanted the other option, it's really not the end of the world. You will learn to appreciate catered if that's not what you wanted, or if you did want catered, then you can learn to cook in self-catered and learn to have that bit more freedom. If you get a accommodation that is like Carnatic, where it's like single bed tiny rooms and you share a bathroom with 12 other people, and that's not what you wanted, then you learn to love that as well. You learn to live in quite poor conditions, but it's great. It brings everybody together and you have so much more fun. Like, I always used to say that the walls were like cardboard so you could hear everything, but that just made it easier to know when people were socializing. And you find these pros of accommodation that you really don't want to be in but you end up in, and I think you really do learn to love wherever you get put, and you make your friends there and everybody's in the same boat. My favourite thing about my university is probably that it's half city, half campus. So there is a Liverpool campus, but it's on top of a hill that is quite near the city centre, and it's also completely open to the public, so the public will just walk through because it's surrounded by houses, or it's surrounded by office buildings, or there's a park in the middle. So I like the mix of both. I like that the buildings are close together because there is a campus, but it's not secluded from the rest of the world. I also really like Liverpool's libraries because they are 24/7 and they are huge, and they have cheap cafes attached to them. The printing is cheap and available, and the staff are really good. I spend a lot of my time there, so it's important that they are good. And yeah, I like that there are lots of societies. The student union is great, and because it is Liverpool and it's up north and I'm from Kent, everything is so much cheaper up north, which is great both for at university, but also Liverpool in general is much cheaper, which is lovely. It's not what I have been used to for the first 18 years of my life. There is so much to do outside of university life in Liverpool. I really didn't realise Liverpool had that much culture, if I'm completely honest, but it's great because that's really something that I look for. The music scene is great. Obviously the Beatles come from Liverpool, so you will find that they are absolutely everywhere, including on the sides of buses. But before you know it, you're singing Hey Jude with hundreds of other people at Bongo's Bingo, so you really learn to embrace that too. There's art galleries, there's museums, there's parades, everybody gets into sporting events. Of course you have Liverpool FC and Everton, so that's something that you have to become involved with whether you want to or not. You just end up choosing a side and getting right into it. And then you've also got like the docks, and you've got Sefton Park, and you have so many nice areas of Liverpool that you can just spend your time not necessarily having to go to a gallery or something. There are just nice areas to be in. And then yeah, there's Bold Street, which is Liverpool's version of London's Carnaby Street, which is one of my favourite streets, full of amazing like independent record stores, cafes, restaurants, bars, right in the city centre next to the bombed out church. So that itself is something great. My advice for a fresher would be not to spend all your money in Freshers Week, because you'll really struggle when it gets to Christmas if you've done that. But also do accept the fact that Freshers Week is about going out, about meeting people and socialising, so don't worry completely if you're spending more than what you think is your normal weekly budget, because it will even itself out. I definitely say join clubs and societies, even if you just go to one and you don't quite like it. Try loads out, because you'll probably find something that you really love. Remember that everybody is in the same boat. I was really nervous about going up to people and just introducing myself and like trying to make friends, but everybody is doing that. No one is going to judge you for introducing yourself, because they've probably done it 20 times already that day. Go and sit next to strangers in lectures and say hi, because that is how you meet people. It's so scary, but as a third year looking back and having done my year abroad and having to do that at another university abroad, it's such a good life skill to just be able to go and do it, and there's nothing to be scared of, nothing to be worried about from doing that. And my last piece of advice for being a fresher is say yes to everything, because first year in most universities doesn't count towards your degree. It is important that you do work hard and you don't completely sack off the work, but you're never going to get that point again in your university life where you can take up every opportunity, because second and third year you have to put in the effort in terms of your academic studies. So just go for it with first year. My involvement in sport at the University of Liverpool is that I'm part of Law's netball team. So we have a on-campus netball group, which is a lot less serious than if you're trying to join the University of Liverpool netball team. And yeah, the teams are like subjects mostly. So like law will play dentists, dentists will play history, history will play so on and so forth. So we do still train, and we go to matches, and we even go to other cities to play other law netball teams. But it's got an element of fun, and you can also all relate because you're doing the same subject most of the time. So you can chat and be like, oh, have you done this piece of coursework, or what question have you chosen? Or if you have to miss training 1 week because of a deadline, they understand because they have the same deadline. And I'm in fact going to be vice captain of the netball team when I go back in October. So that's great, and I love it, and it's a great way to also have socials. My budget is, I think, £60 a week, £50 or £60 a week. I'm fortunate that I get the maximum student loan because I'm from a low income family, so that has actually really helped me out in the end. I don't really have any financial worries regarding university. I don't really worry about the debt because it's not real debt. And also, if you get the maximum student loan from and you go to the University of Liverpool, you get a £2,000 bursary from the University of Liverpool that you don't have to pay back. So that's great, and I actually tend to put that in my savings for a later date. I don't need it to live off, but that's just my personal circumstance. Compared to other cities and places, rent is cheap, and like I've said, nights out are cheap. Taxis home are a couple of quid compared to what I'm used to paying, like £40 from Canterbury to my town in Kent. Yeah, drinks are cheap, especially when you're a fresher and you pre-drink so much. And even actually when you have socials and house parties in second and third year, it doesn't cost much to be social. I often find that maybe once a week or once a fortnight I'll go out for a meal or go to the cinema, so I also have money left over to do those sort of things, which is really nice. So overall, I completely recommend the University of Liverpool. I recommend law, and I recommend doing a study abroad. If you don't get your first choice of university, then please trust other people when they say that it will work out, because it really has for me. Bye!